What's up, fellas? My name is Tucker, and I know it's more James Harden trade content, but this is really interesting. We've gotten some full details on exactly what happened behind the scenes of the James Harden trade. We obviously know what the Nets were offering and what they ended up sending to Houston and what Houston ended up receiving for James Harden, but we now also know what they were asking for from Philadelphia, in addition to some other things that the Nets were trying to do to make the trade a little bit easier on them post-Harden trade. So we're going to be talking about all those details, and I'm really interested in this video. Let me know down in the comment section which trade package you guys would have taken, because we're going to get to what the Rockets were asking for specifically from Philly in exchange for Harden. But quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, I upload twice a day, every day. It's a great place for consistent NBA content. You can also like the video as well. It helps me a ton. It helps get the video out to more people on YouTube. That way, not only do you sub, but a lot of other people do on YouTube as well. This helps the videos get out to more people, as I said. And you can check me out at various socials at the bottom of the screen. There's a link tree in the description if you want to hang out with me outside of these videos. Every single social media I have is in that link tree below. With those things said, let's get into it. So this was revealed in a Ringer article by Kevin O'Connor, so full credit to him in terms of both of these details we're going to be talking about in this video. And the first of which, and the most interesting, is exactly what Houston was asking for from what Houston was asking for from Philly in exchange for James Harden. And it is Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, and 3 future first-round picks from Philadelphia in exchange for James Harden. And I made a video a couple of days ago advocating for Philly to have taken the trade package revolving around Ben Simmons, because as nice as the future picks are for Brooklyn, especially for a team in Houston that has given away some of their future picks, they don't have full control over their own assets. So going out and getting all these first-round picks to make a number of different moves in addition to getting Oladipo was really critical for them. But I made the case that I would rather have the real player in Simmons, even though I am frustrated with him at this current moment, as I talked about in, I believe, yesterday's video or the day before. Even though that is the case, Simmons is a very talented player, and it's just more of a sure thing. I don't think there's any way you lose the trade if you get Simmons. However, the Rockets were looking for not just Simmons, but also promising rookie and Tyrese Maxey, and 3 future firsts. I had thought that the asking price was Simmons, Maxey, maybe Thibault, and a pick. I did not know that they were also asking for 3 future firsts, because initially, if it was just Simmons, Maxey, and a first, it kind of seemed like the Sixers chose Tyrese Maxey over James Harden, which would be obviously an incredible mistake here. The 3 future firsts does change things a little bit, and I'm interested to see, again, down in the comment section below, which trade package you guys would have taken and why. Would you have taken the one that they ended up getting with all the picks and Oladipo, or would you have taken the Sixers, giving up Simmons, Maxey, and 3 firsts? Obviously, Philadelphia was not willing to do this deal, and that is why Harden ended up in Brooklyn, because in my opinion, this is a significantly better offer. If this is what was on the table, which obviously it wasn't because the Sixers never agreed to it, but if this is what Houston got in exchange for James Harden, that would be a huge haul. And I understand now the unwillingness for Philadelphia to do this, because there's no 100% guarantee that just because you trade for James Harden that he is going to be happy in Philly. He's obviously got a couple of teams on a short list, and Philly and Brooklyn were on that list given his relationship with Kevin Durant, as well as his relationship with Daryl Morey there in Philadelphia. But there's no guarantee that 2 years from now, Harden doesn't want to leave, and then you lose all your future first-round picks, and it's just you're really accelerating things here by getting Harden. Simmons is still young, and the future picks, and Maxey. It's a lot given the Sixers' current situation, given the fact that they're a good team now, even without Harden. You could make the case that adding Harden elevates them to true title contender status, but 3 first-round picks is a lot. And it's a weird way to think about it, right? So if both of these offers were on the table and I'm Houston, I'm taking the Philly one every single time. However, that was never on the table, so it makes a little bit more sense why they went in a different direction and they went with Brooklyn. Honestly, even if it's Simmons, Maxey, and 2 firsts, I would still rather have that than what they got from Brooklyn. Not that it was a bad haul, but just if you're comparing the two, I think getting Simmons is a much better asset than getting someone like Oladipo, who's a 2021 free agent, who we've already talked about. Now, the other interesting piece of this relates to the Nets, because as we are now watching the Nets try and put together a rotation with all of these players now missing, with Harden and Durant, and then Kyrie coming back on Wednesday, it's pretty clear that the 5 spot is going to be a bit of an issue. I thought DJ actually played pretty well last night against the Bucks, but the backup 5 part is definitely a question mark, and just the rotation in general outside of the big 3 guys is tough. And the Nets knew that, and they knew that they really wanted to keep Jared Allen. And apparently they were doing everything they could to try and retain Allen, including shopping Landry Shamet as a way to potentially get that first-round pick that would then end up in Houston via Cleveland. So that was really the whole thing, is Houston was really never all that interested in Jared Allen himself. They wanted another first-round pick from Brooklyn, so including the 3 firsts that Brooklyn gave up and the 4 pick swaps, but then another first-round pick as well, which is the Bucks pick, which will be late via the Cavs. Allen and Taurean Prince end up going to Cleveland for that first. And apparently, like, Prince and Shamet was not a good enough combination for Cleveland to give up that first-round pick, which is interesting and makes me think that the Cavs think very, very highly of Jared Allen, considering the fact that Shamet is a better fit on the roster because he is a guard, and the fact that they have a ton of bigs make me already think that they are high on Jared Allen because they are willing to have him rather than Shamet. Significantly better player than Shamet, but the roster fit isn't as clean, which tells me they really like Jared Allen. So at the end of the day, these are some really, really interesting details. And one thing kind of over all this, as we're looking at the packages offered by Philadelphia and by Brooklyn, is the fact that it's not necessarily been reported, but it's been speculated that the Rockets owner just might not have been willing to work with Philly all that much in the first place, and they always preferred to send Harden to Brooklyn because of some animosity between the Rockets ownership and Daryl Morey, who's now the general manager, the head of everything there in Philadelphia. And one, like, I can kind of get that, and it's you know, everybody here is human, but on the other hand is like, just do what's best for your basketball team. Like, leave the personal stuff on the side, do what's best for your team. And at the end of the day, like, if that relationship prevented them from accepting this offer of Simmons, Maxey, and 3 firsts, it would have been a huge mistake. Now, again, this offer was never on the table, but that is something to consider. But ultimately, I would imagine that they would have ended up just taking the best offer that was on the table, and they thought that the one they got from Brooklyn was ultimately better. Now, we'll have to continue to wait and see what happens with this Houston roster moving forward. Oladipo looked really, really good last night. If that continues, he re-signs with them. They've got all these future picks. Houston is going to be an interesting team. It kind of depends on what they do this year. You know, are they going to actually be a postseason team? Are they going to be a team that's kind of stuck, you know, down in the middle, the bottom middle of the Western Conference? I have no idea. We'll continue to keep an eye on them. But it's possible that they got a really good package and they're really good now, and then they have these future picks and those future assets. Maybe I'm just being selfish and I want to see Simmons somewhere other than Philadelphia to really get a chance to fully evaluate him. But at the end of the day, the Sixers decided to keep Maxey, Simmons, and those 3 future firsts, and I don't blame them. As talented of a player as James Harden is, you know, that is a huge trade package, especially when you're considering that you don't know if that necessarily elevates you to, you know, one of the best teams in the East. It probably does, but then when you're considering that, you know, how limited you are to make trades moving forward, and you know, the fact that you just don't have that flexibility of those future picks, it does make things significantly more difficult. Again, let me know down in the comment section below what trade package you guys would have taken had both of these been on the table. But that is going to be the end of the first video of today, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker, as I said in the beginning. If you guys are looking for consistent NBA content just like this, as I said in the beginning, you can subscribe. I've got another video coming out later today about some predictions that I don't feel super good about, some predictions that I made before the season that I already am kind of questioning a little bit. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check out that video later today. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.